What is going on, everybody, man? King Recon here. Before we get into anything in this week's Afterthoughts, I just want to give a massive thank you, man, to every single one of you out there for the get well wishes, for being patient with me. It always sucks whenever I get sick because I feel like I'm so behind that whenever I do end up feeling better, it's tough to catch back up. But if there's anything Steel Ball Run showed me, it's that you should never try to get back to the old zero. You should always try to start a new zero. And so I want to thank y'all so much for being patient with me, because we're back. Hopefully, barring any other sudden illnesses, the time has come to get back to releasing consistent content. It really bothered me that I wasn't able to get this out yesterday. I always like to release my Afterthoughts on Sunday to keep that a consistent thing. So the fact that it's coming out a day later really bothers me. But regardless, we are here for the awesome sauce, man. Today, we're going to be talking about Law, Kid, Big Mom. We're going to be talking about Zoro and those possibilities. So it's going to be a super fun time, man. Listen, starting off with Kid, Law, and Big Mom. I know there's been some discussion from the little bit that I've seen of whether the fight's already over, since the chapter had Kid and Law versus Big Mom in it, which is exactly what Sanji and Zoro had for their final climactic chapters in their specific fights. Robin, it was that, and then the following chapter the fight ended. When it comes to Kid and Law versus Big Mom, it's tough to say because I don't know what route Oda wants to go with for defeating the Emperors and how he wants to do it. We still don't even know if Kid and Law are even going to defeat Big Mom, right? But let's just say, hypothetically saying that they do. Does Oda want to show Kid and Law defeating Big Mom before Luffy defeats Kaido? Because there is two different conversations and scenarios to be had there. There is the individuals that want Luffy to be the first one to defeat an Emperor, because that would, of course, be an extremely special moment. Right, but there's also the party that Kid and Law defeating Big Mom now would showcase just how huge Luffy defeating Kaido is. Because if Kid and Law, it took everything that both of them had to take out Big Mom, two individuals in Luffy's generation, and Luffy's doing this by himself on the roof, so it would showcase the hierarchy, right, in strength, in terms of Kid and Law versus Big Mom. Big Mom gets defeated first. It's like, yo, that's not the main event. That's not the final enemy. And then we go up to to Luffy versus Kaido. And that would be huge, right? Both sides have very good arguments in regards to the situation. It would be awesome to have Luffy being the first one in this series to defeat an Emperor. But it would also be really cool to showcase Kid and Law doing absolutely everything they can possibly do, defeating Big Mom, and then we transition to Luffy versus Kaido, because as the series has shown us structurally, the final battle in the arc is the most important one, and the final battle in the arc is the one where the biggest, baddest dudes are duking it out, right? So I'm okay with either scenario, depending on the way that it's executed, and that's, like I said, hypothetically saying that Big Mom goes down now. If Big Mom is being saved for later, if Big Mom defeats Kid and Law here, or whatever ends up happening, and Big Mom does not go down, then that's going to end up being the case. Maybe that's why the title of this chapter was the way that it is, because now we're transitioning into the other things, like finishing Raizo versus Fukurokuju finally, wrapping up the Yamato plot line with the Kanzenbo, and the Izo CP0 stuff. So we could be wrapping some of this stuff soon. And then the next time we get back to Big Mom, Kid, and Law, it's going to be either after Luffy vs. Kaido or before Luffy vs. Kaido. Or before the conclusion of that, I should say. But it's going to be interesting in seeing the route that Oda decides to take. One thing that continues to be in my mind is the immortality situation with Law's fruit. Introduced back in Dressrosa, of course, for the Opi Opi no Mi. I'm interested in when that's going to be brought up, because if it's not brought up in this arc, then Law either has to stay alive or the Opi Opi no Mi is going to go to the enemy. It's one of the two. Either the Opi Opi no Mi is going to an antagonist, or Law is going to utilize this ability soon. Like whether it's in Wano or in the final saga, he's going to be utilizing this ability in some way, shape, or form because it was already introduced. Oda already has some sort of idea as to who this is going to go to because he already brought it up, right? So it's like, I don't know if it's going to be brought up here. I don't know if it's going to get to the point where Law has to utilize that ability on someone on this island. I don't know. But that has to take place either, like I said, with Law and the Opi Opi no Mi, or Law dies here or soon, and the Opi Opi no Mi ends up in an antagonist's hands later on down the line. Like, let's just say, for example, like the Gorosei's hands, CB0's hands, whatever, you know what I'm saying? It's going to end up in somebody's hands to the point to where they're going to be the ones utilizing Law's Opi Opi no Mi, and specifically that, the immortality surgery that they can receive because of it. So let's talk about our swordsman, man. Let's talk about our swordsman. This has been the part of the chapter that I've been thinking about. I've seen so many different things around the platforms, from him hallucinating to, just like I was saying, it potentially being a Brook gag, to him seriously 100% being in front of death itself. That to me is the coolest out of all these. It's either in front of death itself, in front of Enema, one of those. I want to explore one of those possibilities because those are the rawest possibilities. Those are the most dope possibilities. So I want to explore those before we start talking about a logical type of things that are probably going to end up taking place here. But let's just go hypothetically speaking, right? If this truly is Zoro either in front of Enema or in front of death itself, this is going to lead us to so many interesting possibilities down the line. But let's go down the Enema route first. As a Bleach fan, as just strictly as a Bleach fan, if Zoro's in front of Enema right now, and Enema is coming to take this man's head, and we get a Zangetsu situation where Zoro fights against Enema, in this current state, whether this is in his mind or not, and he has to go against a physical manifestation of Enema coming and being like, yo, I'm giving you your final test right now. You know how incredibly hyped that would be, bro? How awesome that would be. Like I said, as a Bleach fan, man, I'd be losing my mind. I love stuff like that whenever a blade manifests itself and you're able to have that, either that conversation with the blade, which is why that stuff in chapter 1033 was so cool. And now if we have a situation to where he's literally face to face with Enema, and it's like, yo, hey man, you declared yourself for something I don't like, bro. That's me. That ain't you. That's me. So it's like, hold up. So I'm definitely down for that route. Now, in terms of Zoro being in front of death itself, just in front of how raw that is in general, like the man be confronting death itself. We have, as we've seen, not only throughout the series, but even in this arc, we have seen him talk about stuff like the Grim Reaper in regards to the Kamozo situation. And then earlier on, I saw a couple comments saying that he stated this back in Arlong Park, and that's extremely factual. So we know that these things have been sprinkled in throughout the series. So if all of that was foreshadowing for what's about to take place in Sweet Mother of Flagnards, that's awesome. But even going to just this being death itself, right? It's coming, it's knocking on Zoro's door, and he's like, hold on, Sweet Mother of Flagnards. Now let's see how he responds to this, because it's going to be so dope. Zoro could have one of his greatest moments ever right here, right now. Like, there's so many different possibilities that can happen, because let's just say, like I said, this is really death itself. Then we're going to see Zoro's priorities in terms of what means the most to him, because now being face to face with that, of course, the first thing he's going to think of is the same thing he thought of in chapter 1033. He's going to think about his promises that he made to his best friend and his captain. He's going to think about what he's going to be leaving behind, because he's coming to the same type of internal conflict that Sanji was going through, where he was like, yo, I gotta let this man Zoro know that if things push comes to shove, he's got to take me out. He's got to take me out. So now Zoro being confronted by death itself, he's got to come to that, like, yo, if I went too far, then so be it. Go ahead. And he does like a whiskey, or not a whiskey peak, a little garden type of thing whenever he was with Mr. 3 and he was freezing. He just said, I'm just going to pose. If I'm going out, I'm going out in style. So if we get another moment like that, to where he thinks back and he's like, man, I wanted to become the world's strongest swordsman. I wanted to fulfill my promise, and I wanted to do this for my captain. But if death itself is coming, so be it. He has like a Luffy-esque type of moment from Logtown. It's like, yo, I laid it all down on the line. I tried to fulfill my dream. Go ahead, man. Do what you gotta do. That would be an incredible moment in and of itself, because it would just go to show that this man is willing to do anything to fulfill what he wants to fulfill. And then on the flip side of that, on that same type of line of thought, if he decides to combat against the scythe of the Grim Reaper, like he just comes in, watch it when Zoro's like, psh, like, hold up, whoa, stop it now, cause I ain't going anywhere. You ain't taking me nowhere. I still have a job to do. I'm fine with either, man. I'm fine with either the acceptance or the rejection of like, yo, you ain't taking me. Either situation for me works. Either situation for me would have me flying high to the moon, being like, yo, this dude is built different. We already know he's built different. But if Oda goes on this route of him confronting death itself, then those two are the biggest possibilities, right? Acceptance or rejection. Either way we decide to go about it, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome, man. Like, just imagine the type of character moment that we're going to get from this. I mean, we've already had some of his greatest character moments within this arc, but this one, man, like, come on, dude. This is going to be something different. This is going to really showcase, like, and we already know what he's all about, right? We've already had the Throw the Bark moment. We've had this stuff within this arc, and it's like, yo, we know my guy's built different. So it's like, what is he going to do now if this truly is death itself? Now, if this is death itself, and this is Oda playing around with the concept of death in One Piece, the concept of an afterlife in One Piece, which is very interesting, something that he's never really explored before in regards to showing that manifested, right? If this really is that, then I'm interested on whether or not he's introducing this now for a moment later on. So whatever ends up happening with Zoro, you know, the acceptance, the rejection, whatever it is, that's going to be awesome. But is he introducing this now so that he can bring it back up later? And the very first thing that comes to my mind for me is Kaido. We know that Kaido, death is what completes a person. Obviously, this is his goal at this point in time, is to have an epic death, you know, even further beyond Whitebeards and whatnot, right? So I do wonder if we're going to get a chapter from Kaido's POV where he is on the brink of death and he is like the closest you could possibly be to death, and he has a similar situation as Zoro. And we're going to see Zoro's response to this, right? Whether he accepts it or rejects it, and then we're going to see Kaido. Now, we know that Kaido up until this point in time has been like, yo, bring it on. I want to have the biggest, most grandest death possible. But how is he going to feel when he's actually confronted in front by death itself? He comes down with the scythe. Does he try to run away, be like, yo, I don't want to die? Does he accept it? Does he take it full front? Like, yo, hit me. I'm ready to go now. Like, what type of response would Kaido have at the end of this arc? Granted, this is coming with whatever's going to happen in Luffy versus Kaido. You know, the Joy Boy conversation, whether he sees a lot within Luffy and it makes him want to live, whether it's he finally sees this as his moment to go out, his time to go, having unleashed this massive thing, is like, you know what, now is my time. After his flashback, maybe he remembers something very key and important to him that makes me want to continue going. Whatever his response is going to be, if this is the route we're taking, and he has to confront death itself, then that is going to lead to maybe Kaido's best character moment, or a moment of defeat for Kaido in terms of him running away from death and being like, yo, I ain't doing this. Because we're going to have to see the difference between how Zoro confronts this and how Kaido confronts this, if that is the route that we're going for. Even if it's not Kaido, maybe it's somebody else. But if this truly is Zoro in front of the Grim Reaper, then we're going to have to see this again. Oda's introducing this concept for it to take place once more and to show the difference between how Zoro handles it and how somebody else handles it. And I think Kaido will be the best candidate for that, because this is someone who has continued to talk about this, you know, chapter in, chapter out. That's been his main message. And so to have him in front of it, to have him faced with this thing he's been talking about for so long, we're going to get to see his response. It's like, is he really about it? Is he really about it? Like, he's going to stand there Whitebeard style and be like, yo, take it. Take my head. Take me down to wherever I need to go, whatever it is, go ahead and do your thing. Or if he reject it and be like, no, I still have more I need to do. And he takes out his mace and he starts boxing. I don't know what he's gonna do. But whatever he does, I think in my mind, it's either gonna be the exact same thing that Zoro does, or it's gonna be the complete opposite. Like very different. So those types of things are really exciting me with this scenario, because it's like it's going to lead to not only incredible character moments for Zoro, regardless if this is what was truly happening, but not only that, if this is truly Oda showing us and giving us more insight into what death is like in this series and what confronting that is like, you know, a visual representation of that, then it would be really nice to have that also with a character like Kaido. You know what I'm saying? Or other characters, and seeing how they would respond in that type of scenario, because everyone reacts to death differently. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can talk the talk, but once it's time to walk the walk, you know, are you about it? Are you about it? And that would be an interesting thing to explore, especially with Kaido. So that's all I've got for this Afterthoughts, man. I just wanted to talk about those possibilities. I wasn't able to see much from what individuals are saying, but from what I did see, there was so many things, man. I mean, you know, shout out to my boy Joe for talking about, you know, the Hawkins possibility, and also talking about the Brook gag possibility, and I saw a lot of people saying the hallucination from the medicine that Chaper gave him. That's most certainly a possibility. So many different things, right, in regards to the whole Zoro situation. But whatever route Oda decides to take, at this point, he's going to have to commit 100%, right? Like, if it's a gag, we're committing 110%. But if this is true, like, if this is, it's time to confront death itself, then you have to commit, man. You have to commit and give it to us 110%, like 100-fold on this situation, right? And everything that possibly comes from that. So regardless of what ends up happening with that and with Zoro, it's going to be so much fun to see, because, like I said, either it's going to be extremely hilarious, or we're in for one of the best character moments for this character. You know, like I said, it's one thing to always talk the talk, but when it's time to walk it, when you're confronted by it, and like it's what makes that Luffy moment from Loketown so special, and what makes that Nothing Happened moment so special. It's like when it's time to talk, man, or when it's time to walk what you're all about, what you represent. Are you really about it? And now we're gonna see that question once again with Zoro, and I can't wait to see his answer, because you already know it's gonna be some extremely epic stuff, man. Extremely epic stuff, regardless of whether he accepts it or he rejects it. The very idea of him either opposing or accepting is so hype to me, man. It's like, yo, Zoro! I can't wait. I can't wait to see what ends up happening. I'm not gonna build myself extremely high, because if it does end up being a gag, then I'll just accept it for the entertainment that it's gonna provide. But if we are leading towards great character moment incoming, I'm all for it. I'm all for it, man. Because the more Zoro moments that we get, the more awesome, incredible Zoro character-defining moments that we get, the better. The better, man. So I'll see y'all next time. Have an awesome day. Once again, I apologize for not having this out earlier. Definitely look forward to reading the next chapter. Now we're getting a cover and a lead cover and a color page for this next chapter. So definitely look forward to seeing what's going to be there. Will we continue with Big Mom and Kid-in-Law and all that stuff? I don't know. Will we continue with all the other subplots before we go back to Luffy versus Kaido? I'm not sure. Do we still have Zunisha pulling up? You know what I'm saying? I don't know, man. So many different ways that we could go in this next chapter, but that's what makes this all so exciting, is that we really don't know what we're getting into whenever we go into the next chapter. But regardless, y'all have an awesome one. Take care. Can't wait to see what's going to happen with both of the scenarios brought up here, man. It's going to be a good time. Regardless of the route that Oda ends up taking, it's going to be a good time. It's just, if you're asking me, I would most certainly prefer the character-defining moment for Zoro, because he's already had so many of those throughout the series. But bro, this would be like his greatest test. Like, this would be you know, defeating King, that's defeating something that's human, something that's physical. When you have to defeat something that is not human, or at the very least you have to directly oppose it, it's like, man, this could unlock something within this dude that is different. Like that, it makes him completely 100% ready for Shiryu, for Mihawk, and you know what I'm saying? Like this could be him taking that next step. Maybe even this is how they forge black blades. You know what I'm saying? Like we could learn so much about whatever Oda's going for with this, if it's not simply just a gag. You know, so I'm excited. Can't wait for it, man. It's gonna be a fun time. But y'all have an awesome day. Take care. One Piece greatness. Can't wait, man.